So thank you. Thank you, Joe. Good morning. We are live. You said, where'd you go, guys? You said, these are our people. This is my people. Lenny and I, let me tell you this. We checked in yesterday. These are my people. I tell you what, I turned around with my key and I hear somebody getting off the elevator saying, I don't know, I got to go get something out of my truck. I said, we're here. I know this is my folks. That's good. Y'all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. We've been looking forward to this a long time. This is because of a couple of circumstances that happened last year. First of all, I visited with Sam after your 23 meeting. And in July, I tricked Melissa Lutz with some promotional material, so here we are. That's kind of the way it happened. I have strong assurance as we begin this morning that Sam Bowers will lead every applause line this morning. You want to practice? Okay, good. That's good. How do I have that confidence? It is because his former county 4-H leader, my wife, Lydia, she is here. She has a portfolio of historical pictures from 4-H. She will share them with everyone here if he does not. See, it's already working. I brought my secret weapon, and we do. We're thankful for the opportunity. Melissa, the entire team, your leadership, and Sam, thank you for your trust. I shall honor it today. And this is going to be fun as we visit and go down this thing we get to do this. And he's reminding me, I've got to pick this up. Lessons from public service. I bring you greetings this morning from my partners at On Point Strategies. And also from our mascot, Oakley. Yeah, it's Oakley. That's my German wire corner. It's just like Taylor, Oakley. We exist to help people connect, solve, and inspire. We do help connect people with solutions to their challenges. But today, my hope is that I will inspire you to assess your perspective a bit with family, with business, with your involvement in this organization, with leadership, and with your community. Because see, it's a big challenge out there. It's going to take, I think about this with all of us coming in here and your wonderful association. There's so many opportunities out there to serve. And we're going to review some private lessons this morning from things I've just picked up along the way. See, we get to do this. These are practical lessons. God has allowed me to serve in leadership positions for 43 years across Georgia agriculture. I have seen leaders political. I've seen leaders in business struggle with their jobs. I've seen them talk about the drudgery of their existence. But folks, we get to do this. These are practical lessons. And these practical lessons from public service, but guess what? They work in business too. Our theme starts lesson 1 today, if we get to do this. And anybody, please tell me, but I suggest in a group this big, it's very likely that someone said last Friday when asked, well, what are you doing next Monday? I hope nobody said, well, I've got to go to Louisville. Did anybody get invited to dinner? And they said, well, I can't go. I got to coach Little League. Or surely nobody in this room has ever said, no, I can't participate because I got to go show that property to that customer. I hope not. See, when you have we get to perspective, do you see the difference in that? It's quite a bit different. I want to start here with we get to perspective and a get to lesson, but it has to start with a disclaimer. But folks, this could have happened in my home county. It could have happened perhaps in many of our communities, but it did not. This lesson began in the dear state of Alabama. Is anybody from Alabama here this morning? Okay, y'all, I want you to understand. You see, I put a disclaimer. This could have happened in Homer, Georgia, 8 miles from my house, but it didn't. So this time, it happened in Alabama. Lydia and I, this we get to experience was awesome. We had finished a grocery store convention in Destin, Florida. We decided our trajectory is going to be back through LA, Lower Alabama. We said we're going, it's Sunday morning, it's awesome, we get to do this, I've got a venti coffee and my muffin, we're having a great conversation, it's outstanding, and then that dreadful sign, and I look at the fuel gauge, I've got 30 miles left. We've already passed underneath I-10. It's too far to turn back. 20 miles left. 10 miles. I hadn't seen a possum yet, much less an open gas station. It's Sunday morning. I don't have that last one, but it's 6 miles, and we arrive right there at this store, except it wasn't that store because that store looks like a Buc-ee's compared to where we were. There's one, the Lord has delivered, there's one pump. It's not digital, it's a dial. I'm hoping they take a credit card. The lady inside says yes. I say hallelujah. I pump gas. As I'm pumping, there's 3 guys smoking cigarettes on a picnic table. They have not gone to Sunday school. I fill the tank and go back in. Woo, I get to do this. 58% of the people in Georgia voted for me. I get to do this. And that conversation begins with a young lady behind the counter. That's when I take out my credit card with my right hand and my 1980 Go Dogs ring, and I swipe the credit card. The conversation begins. She says, "Is that a college ring?" And I said, "Yes." She says, "It's pretty." I said, "Thank you." Y'all see, we're having a conversation. It's not real deep. but I get to do this. I mean, that's okay. But this conversation is going to go one more question further. What possibly could it be? Where y'all from? Y'all on vacation? Where'd you go to school? No. Look, folks, I get to do this. I'm celebrating because but for the fact of me getting to do this, I never hear the next words out of this young lady's mouth, which were, "I'll bet that hurt you got punched in the face with it." I said, "Probably." I've been looking at the machine, it's saying process, and I'm saying hurry. I get back in the car and doubled over. Lady said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I'll tell you when we get 2 miles up the road." Y'all, it happened. We get to do this. We really do. But you may say, "What's the big deal?" Well, the big deal is this. This picture, or 1,000 more just like it. You pick the theme, you know where I'm going. But this picture, it was December 19th, 1777. Washington's army was starving and dwindling. They were freezing. 1/4 of his army, 1/4 of those men did not have shoes. Washington retreated to the woods to ask God for deliverance. Several artists, including this one, depicted that. They can be found all over the internet. The skeptics say, never happened because there's no proof. Let me tell you what, I don't need a notarized statement from 1777 to know that Washington prayed and God answered. And see, folks, there's a price paid for every opportunity we have. Every opportunity we have, we need to assume the responsibility of understanding that we really do get to do this. Now, you sell a piece of property, they got to pay the bank, okay? If your men, if your wife tells you something to do, you've got to do that. Okay? But the real perspective is we get to. When we adopt the we get to perspective, lots of things change in life for the better. This next one's make the call. I'll tell you what, there's a little action involved in this. It's baseball season. Y'all like baseball? I'm in for baseball. The spring, the rite of spring is here. I love the game, but I love the antics of the people behind the plate, especially the old umps. And there's some spirited ones now. They embrace putting the game together along with a little WWE entertainment. You know, that's the way it is. I tell you, it starts with these guys. Doug Harvey is umpire of all umpires. Now Doug's pretty straight, but he's the umpire's umpire. It's this way. He calls the strikes, and it's just, that's it. You know, not terribly animated, but I'm saying what he knew the game better than anybody, and you didn't mess with Doug Harvey. Eric Greggle is a little more happy-go-lucky. You know, you can see that Eric's got a great demeanor. Eric's behind the plate. He's a big guy, and he's a little nonchalant. That's strike, but he get wound up on a left-hander because he's always in a kind of a windmill motion, calling somebody out. The third one is Rocky. I mean, that's Frank Pulley. Right? Did you see the intensity in his right arm? He's the original rock'em sock'em robot. I mean, he's ready for every call. And he would punch you out. The original puncher. Well, I'll tell you what, making the call, the late, great Dutch Renner was the best of all of them. Dutchy gets behind, he's down on a knee. He's down on a knee, particularly the left-hander, he's over on this side. And folks, I don't care if you're in the bathroom in left center. Renner gets this, and then it is strike one! The whole game. The whole game. That's what they did. They make the calls. Do they get them all right? No. Do I get every call right? Do Lydia and I always agree? No. Sometimes, you know, I check a couple of minutes after I've made a decision and I find out I'm wrong. So that's just the way that works. But making a call, being decisive, is a critical lesson. I was in, this goes back, just celebrated the, 1991, 2024, the 33rd anniversary of learning to make the call. You see, in 1991, I got a call from a freshman state senator. It says, come to my office. Upon entering, he asked, what's your position on House Bill, whatever the number was, I don't remember. I said, sir, Senator, don't have a position on that. He don't have a position, why? I said, well, you know, we're the Georgia Agribusiness Council. George Peak knows them. George, we just got members on both sides. We don't have a position. That's when it heated up. Because that's when he said, how many members do you have? I said, 271, sir. He said, son, if you don't take a position on this bill, I will make sure you don't have any members by the close of business today. I retreated my office. As a 32-year-old, I assumed the fetal position. Then I harnessed a bit of my agriculture education training in the problem-solving method. Discovered that perhaps there was a compromise. I wrote the bill. Turned out it was the first bill I ever wrote. Guess what? It passed. Earned the respect of a senator. Disappointed some of my unreasonable members. Those who were not satisfied got over it. Those who benefited still benefit today because it's still the law in the state of Georgia. I would have never been able to do that without learning how to make the call. The state senator did pretty good too. He rose pretty quickly, became president pro tem of the Senate, then the 81st governor of the state of Georgia, then the 31st secretary of the United States Department of Agriculture. And he now serves as the 14th chancellor of the university system of Georgia. My Georgia friends know who it is. Make the call. Be wise, but make the call. But parenthetically, making the call will impact our last point today too. We'll come back to that. You know what? Please forgive me. These three words are very powerful, but they're often not used by people in leadership. It's an amazing concept. They are liberating, and they're very important in many aspects of life. You see, anybody ever seen a forum like this? When I started my period of service in Georgia, it was before the upturn of the last downturn. It was tough. I faced 24 months of multi-million-dollar cuts. We were looking for solutions everywhere. They brought to me wonderful staff, a great finance team we put together, and as my predecessor had served 42 years. And so we put a crack team together to try to restore order in the state of Georgia. And I said, well, here's a great deal. Here's an early out program for some folks. And that's great. That's awesome. We can meet their needs. I signed it. And then 36 hours later, I realized that I had signed a death warrant, a career death warrant for Fred Lewis Deal and Floyd Burger. Because you see, Freddie was 3 months from full retirement. Floyd was 6 months. I had devastated the future impact of their financial stability with a stroke of a pen. I knew what had to happen. Now, the next conversations with those two gentlemen were not a comfortable, nothing to look forward to. They went something like this. Hello? Please meet me tomorrow at Macon State Farmers Market at 10 a.m. Thank you. Goodbye. Now, they showed up, and I did too. The meeting started with a handshake, which was kind of, I wasn't sure. But the rest of the conversation was exactly this. Please forgive me. I was wrong. Please come back tomorrow. That was it. Now, I still don't remember who started squalling first. But what I do know is that they left restored. I left forgiven. You see, we have a lot of substitutes in this area, like I am sorry, or I regret that. Or how about this? Use either one of those and you take that little two-letter word and put right in front of it. Like, if I have X, then. Because see, when you put the if in front of it, it just cancels out everything behind it. Forgiveness is transactional. Please forgive me is a very powerful tool to use in business, in life. I'll tell you what, we all got 500 in attendance. Somebody in here very likely needs to ask somebody else here to forgive them. The mathematics would pull that out. It might have been a business deal. Some of you may need to return home and do that. If y'all can't tell, we're in revival meeting at home, and we can have it here if you want. But it would start with those three words. Because see, I am sorry, it only means you got caught. Know your customer. This applies to y'all right straight up. Everybody in here has got a customer. Knowing the customer. Bobby Rowan was a mentor, died a couple of years ago. The last of the great orators in Georgia politics. Bobby was a story waiting to happen, and it was just, and every time he opened his mouth, he wanted to listen. But it seems he served as a state senator. He served on our Public Service Commission for many years. But in 1974, Bobby Rowan decided to run for governor. He and 16 other Democrats. That's when everybody was, and that's just the way it works. And Bobby was well known, but he was not well funded. Now, back in 1974, there was this thing called WTBS, Channel 17 in Atlanta. You now know it as the Turner Broadcasting Network. But see, back then there was no news apparatus of Channel 17. All they had was Andy Griffith and Beverly Hillbillies. But they decided to break out in 1974 with a news program. They were going to start with Democratic nominees, Democratic candidates for governor. They're going to have a live forum. And we were bringing them all together in Atlanta, Georgia, at 11:30 on Saturday night. Don't get that? Well, Bobby was not well funded. He said, "That's free promo. I'm ready to go." Bobby shows up with three others. Bobby knew his customer because, see, they started. This is probably the greatest answer at the right time in the right place I've ever heard in my career. They said, "Won't you tell a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're running on? Won't you tell us one of the major planks of your campaign?" Well, Bobby seized the moment. He said, "My name is Bobby Rowan. I'm a former state senator from Enigma, Georgia. I'm running for the governor and the state of Georgia, and I want all Georgians to know that if they have placed their faith and trust in me with their vote, that they can count on a Rowan administration dedicating every resource possible, the financial resources of our great state, the great academic minds of our great state, from our land-grant universities and our medical research universities, and I will harness the legislature and the medical community to find a cure for insomnia. Thank you very much. When asked after the forum was over, so that's one of the most unusual answers. Why did you give that answer? That's when Bobby said, I figured all the people that were watching at 11:30 at night, people that couldn't sleep. Bobby knew his customer. Do you know yours? And the Greek treats this a couple different ways. Do you know your customer? I mean, genosko, honored in the blue letters. I mean, do you have a heart knowledge of your customer? Do you know what their tendencies are about their family, whatever it is? Or do you, I mean, if we surveyed everybody who said, you know your customer, everybody would say, yeah, I know the customer. But do you know them? Like, do you know about them? There's a considerable difference between the two. Because you see, if I know them, I will know their family. I will know that heart knowledge of their desires, their dreams. If I simply know about them, they may be no more, my knowledge of them might just be of what their cell phone is in my cell phone. To be known for service means that you must know genosko, your customer. And in doing so, lots of good things happen. Lesson number 5 is a 3-in-1. It starts with this. You know, no is a very difficult word to use. If you're in a position of leadership, when you're in a service environment, you know, we're trying to get things done. And, you know, look, I'm good with yes, if. Okay? But no, you know, you don't get much gratitude for no. I wish I could tell you, because I mean, you could say, well, man, in all of the realm of things that you've done, how does no come into play? Let me tell you what, I've signed hundreds of administrative orders. I've turned down scores of deals, and oftentimes engaged with a friend. But no was the right answer. And you know what? In the hundreds of times I've done that, I've never gotten a thank you note for it. Because no doesn't come with much gratitude, but it's important. The second one is this. Stop. Now, no is a word of integrity. Stop. Beyond integrity, stop has application in business, has application in our family life, but oftentimes maybe we don't see it that way either. Because until from a strategic planning standpoint, working the business, trying to determine trajectory and success, I've been able to answer or ask 3 pretty simple questions for groups and under my own management, to try to determine the health of an organization, and maybe this would be good for y'all. It's just number 1, what do we do well? What do we need to improve on? And what do you need to stop doing? Because often it's not necessarily something new that sets you on the course to success. It's just eliminating those things that are wasteful and those things that gobble time. Stop's a very important concept. This last one is stand. I hope everybody in the room knows about Job. Job has become one of my favorite books of the Old Testament. The story is awesome. But Job, you got to remember, Satan afflicted him. His friends abandoned him. And then Job started asking God questions. God answered him from a whirlwind. And he started asking Job some questions. One of those questions was this: where were you when I put the foundations of the earth together? When I set them? And then this applies to Stan. He says, God asked Job, where were you when I said to those angry waves, you come this far and no further? You see, God drew the original line in the sand in creation. He said, stop. He said, stand. I will stand here. These are valuable, valuable lessons. I learned them, but for making the call, I might not have been able to execute no, stop, stand. You see, I'm thankful in the previous administration, I had some pretty good communication. I was involved in a lot of things. As a matter of fact, I was involved when there were 8 of us in one room in Washington, D.C. to create the National Rural and Farm Network for the previous administration. I've been in the White House, been in the old executive office building, been in a bunch of meetings, had access to a lot of information. But the Mexico-Canada trade deal was not good for my state. It was not good for my producers. I, as much as told the U.S. trade representative as everybody, including the Secretary of Agriculture, that didn't like it, my folks didn't like it, and I knew where I was going to stand. We get this text, conference call, Mexico-Canada, 3:30. I'm on it, and there's 600 other people. It was a great celebration. They just signed the deal, just sealed the deal, and about to sign it. And that's where, y'all ever been on those calls when it says, of course you're muted, but then it says, all right, the call is over. If you'd like to ask a question, dial *6. And I pulled my phone down and I said to myself, are you gonna do it or not? And I said, you daggum right. And I dialed *6. Now, the first 2 respondents had high fructose corn syrup and honey dripping from the phone about this is just wonderful, and how obnoxiously sickening suck up can you be? But then those fateful words come from the operator, and they said, questioner number 3, your line is open. And I said, this is Gary Black, Commissioner of Agriculture in Georgia. Oh, Commissioner Black, we're so glad you're on the phone. And I got a little high fructose corn syrup coming back at me. I said, well, first of all, to get an agreement like this, I know it is tough. And so I don't, congratulations from the standpoint of the hard work, the USTR and the major negotiators, and the president's son-in-law who was leading it. And I said, thank you, but I don't have a question so much as a statement. Well, a question and a statement, and it is this. What am I supposed to tell my blueberry and vegetable growers back home that voted for you now that you've sold them out? Because, see, there's no seasonal protection. Yeah, that's about what it was for just a little pause. Then the son-in-law dug a hole in the air for 90 seconds and didn't say anything. I returned home. I was at Callaway Gardens, Sam. By the time I left Callaway Gardens and got home, I had a call from the U.S. Trade Representative, who's a friend of mine now. He said we couldn't help it. There's nothing we could do. It was out of my hands. I said, well, you should have said that. Now, did my name immediately vaporize from the records of the White House? Yes. Was my advice or input ever sought again? No. Has it been yet? No. Do I care? No. Because I stood for my growers and I wouldn't change a thing. No, stop, stand. Your association soon, if not already, will call upon you to make a defense of your industry. Your partners are relying on you. Your family is relying on you to make a solid defense of your position, your integrity. And it is essential that you do so. This is a practical lesson, but it is real. And I hope that you will take the challenge to perhaps cry, no, stop, and stand at the right place within your life. Now we get to do this, man, I tell you what, remember, everybody's had a price. There's a price that's been paid for us to chase every opportunity under the sun. Make the call. It's so vital. Look, your family, your partners are relying on us. They're relying on all of us to make the tough calls. Will we get them all right? No. But to be paralytic and not make a decision is disaster. Please forgive me. Forgiveness. Folks, leadership by forgiveness is liberating in many, many ways. Knowing your customer, remember, to be known for service, you must know genosko. You must know your customer. That heart knowledge is so vital. No, stop, stand. That's where you draw that line and say, I will stand on integrity. And when you do so, lots of good things happen. Why is all this important? It's because during the next 20 years, either consciously or unconsciously, the United States shall develop fairly definite policies as to industry and agriculture. For we're rapidly approaching that time which comes in the life of every nation when we must determine whether we'll strive for well-rounded, self-sustaining national life in which there should be a balance, a fair balance between industry and agriculture, or whether, as have so many nations, we shall sacrifice our agriculture for the building of cities. Because I believe that. But you know what? This is true today, but these are not new words. In fact, these are the words of the United States Secretary of Agriculture, H.C. Wallace. And they were written in 1924, 100 years ago, in a foreword to the book called The Agriculture Situation. You see, Wallace could not see the crash of '29. He could not see the Depression. He could not see World War II. But Secretary Wallace thought we only had 20 years to get it right for the land. 20 years to get our policies right. Well, see, I believe that's still true today. But as I conclude, my job today was not to bring you a vision for 20 years or a challenge for your group for 20 years. But my deep hope is through the discussion of these lessons, and we get to do this, is that perhaps in the next 20 minutes, one of these seeds we've scattered will take root and will produce fruit that will be beneficial for you, your family, and your business. Because really, we do get to do this. Well, thank y'all. God bless you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks very much.
You did good.
All right, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.